Hey you guys, my friends, how are ya? I've got the little tarot in a tin. This dumb president. Oh my gosh. I just have no words. So there's a lot of things I'm working on in the background. I've been thinking about, I've been journaling about, I started videotaping some things. But it's just really kind of this space of quiet. Oh, I will tell you though, I'm having kind of this sense of nesting ahead of this full moon. And I'm going to share with you guys some more information about that, but this time is such sacred time. We cannot have interference of stress as we're barreling down to this Saturn-Pluto conjunction eclipse, Uranus direct, which is going to affect heart and circulation, and then the conjunction, and then a few days later, several days later, the sun is going to meet Saturn and Pluto. So, I mean, it's not like it's just this weekend and we're done. No. Saturn and Pluto have been conjunct in the 22nd degree of Capricorn for some time now. You can see right here, where is it? You can see here, 22, Saturn is 22 degrees, 14 minutes Capricorn. Pluto is 22 degrees, 27 minutes Capricorn. They tighten an exact conjunction on the 12th. But even so, the sun's going to keep moving, and the sun is going to be conjunct Saturn and Pluto at 23 degrees. Oh, God. And we have a third quarter moon when the sun is 26 degrees Capricorn. You know, we don't often talk about the first quarter and the third quarter moon. Well, those are the crisis points between the new moon and the full moon. This is usually like when we see wicked weather really start to come together and react and activate. So we are in no way out of the woods after this weekend. It's going to continue. This year of 2020 is very messy, very messy. There's going to be times we're just going to be taking it day by day. The good news, though, is 2021 has like maybe one significant part to it. It's enough, though. And then it's just like we don't have these great big giant planets clashing with each other until like 2025. So, yes, this year really sucks. Also, I was having this thought about this Saturn-Pluto conjunction that everyone is talking about. There are some magical properties that Capricorn does have. I find Saturn very mysterious. I am in love with the planet Saturn. I did some journaling with the planet today, and I will share that with you in this other video I'm thinking about. But Saturn always seeks for stability, structures, and I have this sense that, you know, like Saturn and Pluto, they're kind of going at it. They're opposite. Like Saturn constricts. It crystallizes things. Pluto is transformational. It churns things about. So they're two mighty forces, but I feel that how they're going to interact is going to be complementary because Pluto is disposited by Saturn being in Capricorn. So Pluto has to share Saturn's home and do what Saturn wants it to do. And because Pluto rules Scorpio, which is a water sign, Scorpio and Capricorn, they're very harmonious signs. They get along well. So I feel like when we look at Saturn-Pluto, Saturn always, you know, seeks stability to crystallize structures and get rid of the BS. So Scorpios, or those of you with overactive Plutos that are constantly transforming, it's kind of exhausting. I feel like Saturn is going to help stabilize that, you know, so it's just not so intense and destructive all the time. I feel like if Saturn is too restrictive, Pluto is going to bring about a balance to make things transform that are too rigid. It's almost, I feel like the excessiveness of either planet and their role is going to harmonize. I don't know where that thought came from. I'm getting a lot of funky thoughts lately. I'm really pushing the boundaries on my knowledge. So, that's all I have to say about that. This chart, everyone's asking what happened. This chart is from Wednesday, January 8th at 6:12 a.m. in Tehran. It's the time of day that the Boeing, is it a 737, took off out of Tehran and crashed 2 minutes later. There's a lot of things in this chart. When this incident happened during the time of the missile attacks in Iraq, I threw cards on that right away. I posted it in the community, but I was getting that Putin was sending a warning signal, a warning shot to the Republican Party, to Donald, reminding them of their agreement with Trump-Russia, because they're like co-ruling the United States and co-rulers of the globe, the world, and not to mess this up. And it reminded me, the cards that I threw on it reminded me of, I think it was like around August 8th or so. It was another piece of news that missed, you know, the media, even though the article I ended up finding through CNN. It was that USA and Canadian jets had intercepted Russian jets off the coast of Alaska and had to chase them away. It's like, what is going on? Oh, and I think that was the day that we found out later on that Deputy DNI, I forget what her name was, but she, you know, served under Sue Gordon, who served under Dan Coates. By the way, we still do not have a director of national intelligence. No one's replaced him yet. But that was also the day that Sue Gordon resigned. And so I threw cards on that. I did a reading on why did this happen. It was a warning sign from Putin to the Republican Party because Donald had just signed sanctions days before. The spread that I did trying to find out what happened with this flight that was going to Ukraine exploding, it just reminded me so much of that reading that I did. It was Putin's warning shot. So what we're going to do, there's not a whole lot I can do forensic-wise because it happened within 2 minutes and the chart just really doesn't change very much from the time of takeoff to the plane exploding. God rest those souls on that plane. Families. I'm just taking a moment to embrace them in some love. And to shine a big light there on what happened for investigators to find easily. So this is the horoscope. I'm going to throw some cards on here as the Tarotstrology. I am going to ask the airplane, the observer, the airplane, the Boeing 737, what happened? What happened? So Boeing 737, what happened? Your first house of identity, what happened? Something was manipulated. Something was manipulated up in the air. Look at this. Up in the air. Something was manipulated. Like before it hit the ground. And there's a person there. Boeing 737. See, what was the secret? Hidden enemies. Mysteries. A Knight of Swords. This is a spy. This is air. This is mutable air. Gemini. The moon was in Gemini when this happened, which also signifies two. The moon in Gemini here, the Virgo owns this real estate here. And this has to do with public servants, investigations, military. So in the sector of secrets, hidden enemies, we have a spy, mutable air Gemini. So this is related to probably government workers. Now here's Mars, the aggressor. We see Mars in accidents. Mars rules the lower heavens, so as all the energy is bearing down from the heavens, through all the layers, through the heavens down to earth. What's ruling this fourth house here where we have this accident is Mars. And now we have it up here in the 11th house of hopes, wishes, friendships, technology, revolutionaries, innovation, science. What happened, Boeing 737, with this Mars? Hopes, wishes, friendships. We have, Lordy, look at that. Who's the Knight of Cups? This is Donald, who makes offers. Is this Donald? Yes, this is Donald. This is always Donald when he's trying to do something to please Putin. Donald knows what happened. The other thing that was bearing down, we have Uranus here. In this fourth house of home defense systems, caring, nurturing, with Uranus, which is explosive, and things just suddenly happen out of the blue. It's interesting that this is on the ground beneath it. If it's not in the heavens above crowning it, if it was in the heavens above crowning it, we have this planet, Uranus. To me, that would speak more about the airplane itself, something suddenly happening. But the explosion was above the ground. The explosive planet is on the ground. You see that? What was crowning the skies with this accident? Airplane, Boeing 737. United States of America was crowning the skies because that's when the missile attacks were happening against the United States. In the sector of long-distance travel, I'm thinking about Canada. Long-distance travel, higher learning, spirituality, philosophies, other cultures. Boeing 737, what happened? Putin. Of course, I always call this Putin's house. In the area of life, death, transformation, life and death, other people's money, shared resources, taxes, inheritances, intensity, the house of spies, espionage. There you go. The Trump crime syndicate, the Trump campaign, in shared resources. I did not realize Trump was so heavily involved. In the area of partnership, which is actually Donald's opposition. 7th house is always his opposition. He hates everybody opposite him. We have news from Russia. Coming in, this is ruled by the moon. So the news from Russia, Jesus. News from Russia rules this area of opposition, and the moon is in the 6th house of public servants, investigations, military. So the moon rules this house, Mercury rules this house, and now we have news. 6th house, Boeing 737. What happened in the 6th house of public servants, investigations, and the like. Justice, are you kidding me? Is this Bill Barr? Oh my God, this is Bill Barr. This is what he was setting up, because at the new moon, he was busy setting crap up. Oh, so Bill Barr is involved in this too. I've been wondering what he's been doing. There's also behind the scenes, there's a major financial transaction taking place. I've been working on that this evening, trying to see who's part of that. Social media is involved. Big tech has their hand in it too. So keep that in mind, because it's something else we have to visit. 5th house of the sun. Airplane, Boeing 737. What is that? Oh, okay. So what I started doing with my decks. Oh, look at this one's on the bottom. I've been adding these extra cards back into the deck, and I put a positive for a yes and a negative for a no. And then I always let myself draw an extra card, kind of as a yes, it has to do. Okay, so yes, this has to do with the Queen of Swords and maybe what she's advancing with. And so that would be impeachment, what she's adding to. She has positive power here, which would be Venus. The 2nd house is of income. In the 4th house, airplane. What was on the ground here? What with Mars? Defenses, self-defense. What happened, Boeing 737? From the ground, something came quickly. These are like missiles coming up from the ground quickly. Holy crap. So if the moon was in Gemini, this is owns this real estate here. What do we have here for communication, social media, agreements, publications, neighborhoods? 10 swords and Donald's back. He's done. Then we have the 2nd house of income, gains. Venus is right there. We have the world bringing this is okay. Bringing an end to impeachment and what's going on with Zelensky. That's why the airplane to the Ukraine was targeted. No one's talking about Boeing. Boeing is a huge player in this. Go look at Boeing stock shares for the past 5 years, and you'll notice a positive correlation with its increase in value when Donald won, when Deputy Defense Secretary Shanahan was named as the deputy. Look at it on that day. Look at it, the value of Boeing on the day that Mattis resigned, and then Donald did something else, and then look at it the day that the tax bill was signed. And then look at it on the day Donald had his worst day ever on the world stage when he was in Vietnam. And he flopped. Look at its stock share that day. Know that I think it was a president who was ousted out of Boeing, but when Donald, signed the tariff thing with affecting metals, it affected Boeing because of the materials that they use. And he signed that, I don't know if it was before or after Helsinki, but in that speech with Helsinki, Putin is very much about using business as leverage over countries. He calls it something else with like investment and cooperation. Don't ever listen to Putin when he says cooperation. But then Donald shortly thereafter signed signed tariffs, which affected Boeing, and then Boeing established a new headquarter in Russia. It's no accident that a Boeing airplane was shot down that was going to Ukraine, because Putin always layers his messages as well. So we have a negative on the ascendant. Yeah, that was lives lost. What does that pertain to? The hanged man, the martyr. It's like Putin is saying, don't make me do this. Do I have your attention? Okay, so I'm going to write this down, and I'm going to grab another deck. This deck is for Iran. This deck is for Canada. This deck is for Ukraine.